Hello, everyone. Now, if life could be likened to a crime movie where someone is responsible for creating life and we're trying to find out who done it, then really we're only halfway through the movie in that we haven't come to a conclusion that ties all the threads together as to who did it. Now, we do have two suspects in the frame. One is God, whom we've never met, but we believe is responsible for all this. And the other is that life came together by happenchance, by a random series of events becoming more stable or more capable over long periods of time. And that's what's behind it. But really, the jury is out. It can't decide one way or the other based upon what we know today. And why don't we add into the mix that maybe aliens did it? They seeded life and flew off, and we've never seen them since. But anyway, the purpose of this one is to look at the aspect of, was this all caused by happenchance, by accident, by a pure process of evolution alone? And this is what the standard view is today about what is accepted as the true cause of life. So this is going into it with a little bit more scrutiny. So to clarify, what is the evolutionary view saying? It's saying that we have been able to observe and to research the fact that forms of life do adapt to their environment and become more suited to it and become more capable within it. And we've got various examples that demonstrate that. And yet it's taken that and extrapolated it to the ability to create life from scratch. And that all of this occurred at times where we were not able to witness, but we are assuming that by the sheer enormity of timescales by which this could have occurred, that it is not unreasonable to assume that it would find more self-able, self-writing forms of life that has led to what we are today. But there are a lot of anomalies in it, and this is going to touch upon some of them, and they're great big anomalies actually. Just take the fact of, if it all happened by chance, and we know how prolific life is, just think of the number of weeds in your garden, and life surrounds us everywhere, and yet at no time has the human race been able to form life from scratch. If you went into a chemistry lab with everything in it and you had everything at your disposal, you can keep mixing the chemicals and heating them up and putting them under pressure and, exposing them to x-rays. And all they've been able to achieve is some chemicals that are found in life. They haven't actually brought anything to life. And you'd think that if life is so prolific and we're saturated in life, that we could produce it from scratch, but we haven't been able to, which is curious. And then there's the thought that we, the products of evolution, be it the human race or the animals or the plants, don't seem to have participated. We've got no examples of us participating in our own evolution. I mean, take the elephant's trunk. How did that come about? Did they formerly just have a kind of nose type thing and they grabbed hold of it? Their fellow elephants grabbed hold of it and pulled it until it turned into a long pipe, and they passed that on to their children? Or, where in the record books would you think it'd be found that someone had written on a piece of parchment, "I created laughter in the human race"? Because as you know, laughter, we have laughter, but animals don't. So somehow it's become an evolutionary feature of the human design. And did someone way back when say, well, I've just created laughter and I've taken some blunt tools and I've opened up the arm of my partner and I've infected them with this laughter thing, and then we've had children and they've all been born with the ability to laugh, and then we have survived and everything else has died where the human race is concerned, so that now every single human being, whatever quarter you go to, has the ability to laugh. I mean, there might be misery guts and hardly ever do it, but they still have that ability to laugh. So there's no sign anywhere of us participating in the process of our own evolution. And then you get, I mean, this is a marketing example, but it's a good one, which is that you take the idea that you're trying to sort of come up with something to make money, and you brainstorm it and come up with 100 ideas, some wacky, some pretty good. But then with a bit of review, you realize that 90 of them are really unrealistic. So you end up with, say, 10 that are potential possibilities with which to produce something that could be sold in the marketplace. And so people go away and they develop them, you market them, you try to sell them, you sell some, but really what survives is likely to be only 1 in 10 of those ideas. So 9 out of 10 just weren't that saleable, they weren't that useful, they didn't really fit the job, but 1 did. So that's really like 1 in 100 ideas becoming something useful and accepted into life. And that's with intelligence at play. In fact, from great intelligence, because businessmen are really kind of committed to trying to get their idea to work. Now, if life is really happening by, chance events and one thing after another just happening to occur, you'd think that it would be less than 1% that actually makes it to the final inclusion in life. So, say it's 1 in 1,000, which is being generous to the processes of life. So you would expect that you, me, any other form of life would have at least 1 or 2, if not 500 different features in the middle of being developed. They haven't quite got there. We haven't decided if they're going to be rejected and fail. But we don't have a single one. The human body, for example, is very finalized. The parts on it are complete almost to a point of perfection, and there's nothing on us in a half state of formation, which is what you would expect if everything's happening by chance. But really we're more like the motor car, where because there's intelligence at play, everything's been perfected to the point that anything extraneous has been removed. And that's really only possible by that external observation of intelligence improving things. And another thing that's a bit odd is that there's these set patterns in life that have no real reason for being there, particularly if it all happened by chance. So, for example, you find that the eyes are above the nose, which is above the mouth, and that is replicated in the birds, in the insects, in the fish. And you think, well, that's probably quite a good arrangement. And you look at the nose above the mouth, and sure, that makes a lot of sense. You smell your food just as you're about to eat it. But really, there's no particular reason for having your eyes above the nose, because actually, it'd be a lot better if I had an eye on the end of my finger, and then I could look around the corner and see what's coming. Or eyes in the back of my head. That is the great place to have an extra pair of eyes. But no, there's a set pattern that's put the eyes above the nose, above the mouth. And in a way, even the mouth is in the wrong place, because where you want it is over the stomach. So you just shovel the food in and it goes straight into the stomach. And we wouldn't have to have this pipe running from the mouth to the stomach, which strangely has also been used to induct air into our lungs. And so we share the pipe with the lungs. And that's a bit foolish, because people die from choking. They get a bit of food stuck in their air pipe. And do they not have enough material? But this design anomaly has been replicated across many forms of life, and there's no particular reason for it. So another thing to bear in mind is that intelligence tends to progress something until it gets it right. So you take the aeroplane, we tried hundreds, thousands of attempts, but we knew it wasn't right, and we pursued it until we got the damn thing to fly. Now, if something is happening by chance, it will tend to only develop it, improve it, to the point that it comes to a state of balance or settlement or something that works better. And yet, really, that doesn't lead to the kind of things that we see in our experience that are only there. I mean, most of the things you look around you in the man-made world, they are only there because somebody persevered to get it right. And if you only just think, well, I'll do it until it sort of stopped reacting or it's become no further activity in it, which is what kind of the process of evolution is saying, then it wouldn't progress it to the point of being into this more advanced level of capability. So there's all these oddities, and you've got to think, well, we seem to be a bit like children in this department, which children, they want a happy ending to the story, or they definitely want an ending. They don't want to just leave it open with not knowing what's happened to the princess and the frog. And we seem to have been a bit childish in this respect, in that we have accepted sort of wrapped up answers to explain it all, when really it's calling for an open mind that keeps investigating it. Because also, if you have the open mind that keeps investigating it, it's actually a bit thrilling. It's kind of exciting. You're on the chase. And a bit like if you've ever watched these crime documentaries, they're quite revealing, because when they eventually track down the suspect, not in every case, but in a lot of cases, all the bits of the puzzle come together, that all the little anomalies can be explained. Particularly if the person admits it finally, and explain it all as to why all these strange occurrences, which eventually led to the actuality of what occurred. And that's what we need to be after. So what we need these days is more an open mind to continue the exploration without adopting easy to get answers, and realise that we've been given this incredible mystery with incredible clues that really is quite riveting, and it really is a chase worth pursuing, that I think we need to embrace in a far more open and engaging way, and really look at what some of this is saying. Even if that what life seems to be doing to us, it won't give us the final answer, but boy, will it give us quite an adventure in progressing it. And that's what I think we should be on to in this new enlightened age that we have moved into.